My in-laws left us homeless and broke. It ruined my life.
Well, just think about how hard it was for them to make you go through that. I'm just kidding. That sucks.
So my husband, let's call him Ben, 27 male, and I, 25 female, moved in with his parents 2 years into our relationship due to his dad having a medical condition. Turns out it was from substance abuse, aka booger sugar.
Nose clamp.
And needing around-the-clock care, so we were told. By the way, this comes from Civil Technology 7817, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, little backstory, my husband was always supporting them by paying bills, food, and whenever they asked, giving them $300 to $500, even after he moved out and was on his own for over 2 years. Ben and I helped them move multiple times, and even once by ourselves in the rain, while his parents gave him an excuse that they were not able to pack because of another eviction, and the landlord was against them, and they were at a hospital in a different state, causing us to do what we could in one night. After this, they played on my heartstrings, manipulating me and lying to us, saying they needed us down there and not knowing how much time he had left. At the time, it was in the middle of a career change for Ben, and I really believed them, so we both moved up there to help. We ended up finding an apartment to accommodate all 5 of us, my husband and I, his brother, and his parents. We were then informed a couple weeks after moving our life to help them that he would not be doing treatments and just writing it out. We didn't know it was because of substances until later on. We would give them $400 per month for our portion of the rent, on top of helping with groceries and other things. His mother would have the same deal. $400 per month and help with groceries, but he never paid, and Ben would always be pressed about not contributing enough. We had no privacy to ourselves, with his mom always barging into our room, stealing clothes, shoes, and makeup from me, and then taking it for herself or mysteriously losing it. This caused strain on our relationship and made us fight a lot due to his parents' boundary issues and lack of needing care, seeing as they would leave for days at a time, saying they went to casinos or stayed at a hotel for a while, going out to eat every night to different restaurants. Well, his parents stopped paying rent completely for about 8 months, even though we were giving them our portion, which resulted in eviction. That is so annoying. You guys were paying them the whole time, and they just weren't paying any of that rent to the people that were supposed to be paying?
Just makes you think. Where did it go?
Where did it go?
Where did the money go? It went to the nose clam.
His parents and brother decided to destroy and vandalize the apartment after we left, i.e. nail polish on the toilet and in the shower, a large adult toy, suction to the wall, writing on the wall as well, syrup in the walls. Why?
Syrup in the walls?
Why? How did they do that?
What? How are we? This was a father-son combo? Nice.
His father, mother, son. Our lease had already been up,
in there too?
and we were paying month to month until we found something else. They forged another lease, didn't have our permission to add us to another lease, and stated that Ben was responsible in the case that things weren't paid or were destroyed. Unfortunately for us, the total for the apartment was around $7,000. On the move, we were all homeless, living in our car with all of our stuff stuck in a U-Haul, but found a place where the guy was going to sell the house, but agreed that we could rent until we got the closing cost, or if we wanted to leave, we could after 6 months. The plan was to use the money we all had, our half, my husband's credit, and his parents' half. We all could live in this 3-bed, 2-bath home for 6 months. Instead of using the money to get us off the streets, they paid for his cousin to have his lights turned back on at his place, where the floors were unfinished and holes were not done. I'm sorry, wait, did you give them your money? I'm confused if the parents just used their money to do this, or if they took everyone's money. Because in which case, you guys should absolutely, have realized that these people were very untrustworthy from the last
I think it was a
experience
situation where, they were planning to use, all of their money and then the husband's credit and all of the parents' money, and then they were going to all lump it together and, give it. And then instead of doing that, the parents were like, by the way, we used our money to... Yeah. We used our money to help the cousin turn his lights on, which is dude, we're actively homeless.
I think you just have to...
Need your help.
You guys, I don't think you're going to be able to get out of this situation with their help, because they seem really, really unreliable.
Yeah.
And awful. The place smelled of old milk and mold, walls were unfinished, windows broken, and the place was littered with trash. The place could have been condemned. Well, this caused a falling out, and we got all of our stuff out of storage and house hopped, staying somewhere different every night. Eventually, we stayed with my brother while he was working, trying to save and get our own apartment. Well, they used our credit card. How?
Yeah, how are these people not completely financially removed from you yet?
And racked about $2,000 on it. How? When confronted, they gaslit and threatened Ben, refused to help us pay anything on it, and that is when we went no contact for a year and a half. Why aren't you declaring like fraud on this?
Yeah, you can. You can call your bank and be like, I'm sure they probably did.
Yeah.
It's like you call your bank, you're like, this was fraud. These were not authorized sanctioned purchases.
We got married in that time at the courthouse and just wanted it to be for us. We started getting back in contact because we wanted to give them a second chance in order for them to know their grandchild. No. Getting back in contact with someone who's been awful to you should only happen if they have completely turned their life around and are actively trying to improve the relationship with you. We went from no contact to low contact, easing back into it and protecting ourselves and our child. After a few months, Ben's mother called me from the hospital claiming to have had a stroke. It was a mix of medications causing an allergic reaction, and apparently I was the only one who could understand her. A few days go by after she had called about the stroke. She called again, literally screaming and crying for help, saying that Ben's father and brother were leaving her in her own urine and feces and needed help as she was unable to take care of herself at this point. So I called Ben at work on a super important day, and he left work, came home, and got me and my child for us to meet his parents halfway for his mom to come stay with us for a while. And I'd help her and get her to the doctor's appointments that she needed. His dad showed up the next morning, slept all day on her couch, and then once Ben was at work, his parents left. Mother-in-law knew that she would have stayed for months and that I was making appointments like she had asked me to, but according to father-in-law, that was never the plan. The day I made the appointments for mother-in-law, I looked through her medical files and learned that she had faked a stroke. After all of this, Ben was absolutely done. Texted them, telling them that it will not happen again, and he has his family to think about. Saying I was an amazing wife and did what any normal person would do in that situation. He went no contact. Didn't speak to them, but I kept low contact here and there. Why? If the person whose parents is like, I don't want to have contact, don't have contact with them.
At least not until they get clean, dude. These people need to.
Why would you want these people anywhere around your child?
Address that.
Yeah. Why would you? Yeah,
and you should not have them around your child.
Recently, we received something in the mail stating that there was a credit card opened in Ben's name for the state and county that his parents lived in, opened almost a month before the eviction from the apartment. We never used this credit card company, and due to the holes in their stories, we believed it was his parents who opened the credit card. Obviously.
Of course it was.
They've already done that.
Of course it was.
Obviously. I.e. saying that they didn't have a P.O. box, but then turning around and saying that they had one for him since he was a baby. And the bill for that was almost $2,000 again.
Yeah, so that's
fraud.
Not something you should be legally held liable for.
I don't understand why we're not like changing all of our code, all of our passwords and everything.
It might just be conditioned, you know?
So in total, there was $11,000 in debt. Well, Ben and I had a baby and decided that we wanted to try and get a house when we were told that because of the charges from the apartment and the credit card were done, we were unable to get a loan. Even with speaking to the debt collection agencies, we were only able to get the apartment price down to half, which we asked his parents to pay a little bit towards since we have a toddler and cannot afford this lump sum all at once to get it removed from our credit to get a home loan. And they never replied.
Yeah, we need to start operating from the position that we know how these people act and behave, and then like informing our behavior based on that instead of just still relying on them financially or being surprised that they've defrauded us.
But you should never be surprised that you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. I don't understand why we're still talking to these people when you have a baby, when they've defrauded you, when they're stealing your credit cards, putting you down on a lease, and then getting you to have to pay $7,000 in fines. Like, why are we talking to them? Why are we asking them for anything?
Yeah,
I understand that you need help, but they're not going to help you. They're probably going to make it much worse.
Yeah, they're going to actively hamper you.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
But there is a little bit left. We've since gone no contact. So I guess what I'm getting at is, are we the a-holes for asking them to help us pay and going no contact? Edit, this has all happened in the span of 5 years. We were homeless about 3 years ago for a year. Wow. We didn't have our child until after we were in a stable house, and we just recently filed for a home loan, but we were denied due to the credit card fraud and forgery. We are filing police reports and doing everything we can to correct the issues. Comment once is, how did you ever decide to marry into this madness and then add a baby to the mix? Obi says, because oddly enough, my husband isn't like his family.
That was downvoted?
Yeah, why was that downvoted? Comment 2, OMG, why at any time did you not go to the police? Frankly, this is 100% on you.
No,
you poor child. You're a poor child.
100%.
Not 100%. Should OP have gone to the police much earlier? Yes.
Did you warg into the in-laws' brains and make them that you defrauded yourself?
Yeah, it's like, no, it's not. It's absolutely not 100%.
Yeah, it's maybe like 20%.
Comment 3, why do you keep putting yourself in this situation? Like, seriously, your husband went no contact and you still were low contact? I'm sorry to say this after everything you've been through, but you're the a-hole to yourself at this point. File fraud charges.
Yes.
Follow your husband's lead and go no contact. Think of your child and what future BS this lady has in store.
Yeah, honestly, the lack of rectifying the fraud.
That's the issue.
That is on you.
Like, you could have rectified it and been like, hey, well, maybe you don't get all of that money back, but certainly before it gets to another
No, you probably
2000.
could. You probably a lot of times they do their own investigations and stuff. If they weren't authorized to use that card, and you're like, yeah, I had my credit card essentially stolen, and then they racked up $2,000 in debt. They go, all right, well, you're not liable for that, because it's fraud.
But that is the end of that story.